Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag. Yes, welcome into episode 209, the most random number of all time. But it is time for the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast, breaking down the hows, whys, who's, what's, a where's a, just you name it. What's up, Johnny? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to everybody. Doing well today. Got a big old mug of coffee. We're going to get into some more film today. Really enjoyed the show Friday, going through some film. And so I spent much of the weekend watching like 6-7 games. So we got a bunch of film and clips of Beck, wide receiver from TCU, and some Shemar Stewart film, because we've been talking about him for a while, and there's some, conversations that the chat gets a little spicy with Shemar Stewart. So we're going to actually look at some film. I've now watched 5 games of Shemar Stewart, and so I'm getting a good, well-rounded view maybe of who he is as a player, and everything also too with guys like Beck and Shemar Stewart. Remember, the draft evaluation is not just the film. It's not just the Senior Bowl. It's not just the combine. It's all of these things put together. And when I start looking at, especially a prospect like Shemar Stewart, from his film to the Senior Bowl to the combine, you start to get a picture of who this player is. And so, so we're gonna get into him. We're gonna save him for the second, but we're gonna start out with some Beck. Are you familiar with Beck there, Adam?
A little bit, as Technic says, the shout out from Steph. So I saw a little bit, but I will admit that I'm kind of definitely a passenger today, just watching on some of this Beck stuff. So I'm excited.
Did you just say Beck? You just said Beck.
Beck, yeah, I said Jeff. That's his brother.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He'd have to be really old to be Beck's brother. It always reminds me of Wayne's World too. When the roadie guy is sitting there, he's like, "We were in Sri Lanka and I had to find 1,000 brown M&Ms or Ozzy wouldn't go on stage. So Beck pops his head in and says there's a little sweet shop down the corner." And so, like, I can't think of Beck without thinking of Wayne's World 2, even though I love Beck as a guitar player. He's a phenomenal guitar player.
Yes.
I'm getting a spam caller. I should have put him on. I should have done it.
Oh, that would be awesome. Just like put your phone up to like the microphone.
I mess with him all the time.
You're on the air, sled god.
The last one I had, they were asking me, about would you like to save 40% on your car insurance? And I was like, you can do that? And the guy was like, yeah, you currently have car insurance, right? And I said, if I admit to not having car insurance, are you going to call the fuzz on me? And and they were like, what? no, we will not be calling the police. I said, are you sure? Are you sure? And then they hung up on me. I heard, oh God, and then hung up. And so I did one. They called. I rolled down my window. I was driving down the road, and I started screaming out the window. And then I was like, hey, who is this? Why are you calling me? Is this really important? I'm being chased by the police. And the guy was like, why are you being chased by the police? I said, I got some warrants. I ran through a stop sign on accident. They're running me down. What is this? He's like, well, I just wanted to help you save on some car insurance. I said, well, I really need it right now. This is going to be bad. And the guy was like, well, you better stop talking to me. Run fast, buddy. And he hung up. So,
the best ones were on the landlines, when you had a landline and they called you at home and you would just tell them, like a la Seinfeld, oh yeah, I can't talk to you right now. Give me your home number. I'll call you at home. And they're like, well, we really don't do that, sir. Oh, I guess you don't want people bothering you at home. No. Well, now I know how I feel. Click.
I totally actually did that one time. I asked for their number and the lady was like, we can't give that out. And I said, well, but I really want your home number. So I'm really interested. Can I call you later? And the lady transferred me to her manager. And
you have too much
and so I went the whole thing through the manager, and the manager's like, we don't want people calling us at home. And I said, now you know how I feel, and I hung up. So I was long playing that one. But anyway, we're gonna get into some film here. We're first gonna start out with Jack Beck, and I will say, yeah, Steph totally was into it with quick, Lisa's coming.
Oh gosh,
for chat.
Lisa,
the body so police can't find it.
Hello, by the way. I love that. That's my favorite part of it. Oh, just by the way, hi. Cowabunga.
Oh, we appreciate Lisa. Yeah, Steph was real high on Jack Beck. We were talking about him a lot at the Senior Bowl. That's where I think both of us first really started to notice him, was at the Senior Bowl. Physical receiver. I mean, that just flew off the field, how he is. So he's right here. He's in the slot. First thing we're going to see. So, and I'm going to be careful with this comp, because this can mean different things right now. My comp for him right now is somewhere between a Cooper Kupp and a Deebo Samuel. Now, I'm not saying he may be an all-pro guy, because both of those are all pros. But I mean, because that's a very lofty comparison. But when I talk about quicker than fast and savvy route runner, he reminds me a bit of Cooper Kupp. Physicality reminds me of Deebo Samuel. The way he is with the ball in his hands, the way he moves, really, and just his thick size reminds you of Deebo Samuel. So he's here in the slot, and they're just going to run a little bubble screen, and we're going to see this physicality and the ability to do things with the ball in his hands from the get-go here. So you're just going to see, like, this is against Utah. They have a hard time tackling him. We're going to run this into 50% speed so we can all see it. He's somebody that when you get the ball in his hands, he can do something with it. He doesn't usually go down from the first hit or the first guy. So see it jukes out one guy. No fear, gets in there, broke 4 tackles. And the 5th guy didn't even tackle him. This is who he is with the ball in his hands. Somebody that is a playmaker once you get the ball in his hands. He didn't get the ball in his hands enough, I think, at TCU. A lot of times they were forcing a lot of stuff to 3, who's a great athlete, but they were forcing a lot of stuff to him. And so you see that. Now, I need to pull up my notes here on the side so I make sure I have everything. We're going to see. I love this. This is what I'm going to call the Maverick move. He's right here. And so what you're going to see is he's going to sell this go route, and then he's going to put on the brakes and let the guy fly right by. That's why I call it the Maverick move. So he's going to get in here. Receiver, the corner's trying to play some bump coverage with him. He's trying to press. I'm going to go through I'll let it play, and then I'll go back and we'll talk about the particulars of it. So you can see it here. Woo-hoo-hoo! Doesn't get the ball.
But yikes. He was inverted.
But yikes. Yeah. So first thing I'm going to do, we're going to slow this down. He's in press coverage. Notice what he's going to do first. He's going to take this inside arm and he's going to bring it through the corner. He's going to protect his chest. That's really important here against press coverage. And he wants to win to the outside. Corner's got outside leverage on him. So he needs to move this corner inside, then protect his chest and get his arm through. This is what I mean about a polished, savvy route runner. So there he goes. Boom. Gets it through. He's got now he's one outside. That's where he wants to win. So he's going to get this corner in a trail technique. And so that guy is going to try and run with him. And he's just going to set this up, hit the brakes, and let the guy fly right by. The Maverick. I love it. There it is. Then boom, sinks the hips. I mean, that is nasty. Gets in there. This guy is all alone. If the quarterback had been looking his direction, I mean, he is wide open with a whole lot of space. All right. So we're gonna watch this again. This next one, he is down here. You can find him because he's the one with the hand warmer on his hindquarters. If you're watching at home and trying to figure out where is Jack Beck in all of these, we're gonna see a nasty out. All these? Oh my goodness! So we're gonna see a nasty out route. He wins, doesn't get the ball, but they're going cover 0 here, so he's got an off corner, and again, he's gonna set this guy up inside, get him moved in, and then run this nasty out route. Again,
there's so much space over there.
If he gets the ball, God, he's gone. I mean, he is like, you can see why he was so frustrated. He wanted to get the ball himself, but the smoothness at which he cuts, there's very little throttle down. He does a good job sinking his weight and go. And he was frustrated. He was frustrated by this point because he had not gotten the ball, not many looks his direction, and he was cooking most of the game.
Let him cook.
So now we're going to see him again out here. I'll let this play. He's really physical. That jumps off the tape, and so you're going to see it here. We'll slow it back down. And so this was later. You know, he went to the sideline and was telling his quarterback, dude, I was wide open. You need to get me the ball. Again, corner's got outside leverage because he's going to be funneling to an interior help safety. So he wants to win outside. So he's going to work, get this corner to come in, and then fight through contact and come out on this out route. I really like this. Again, so you see him, boom, spray inside, get the corner moving, bring this inside shoulder through. There's gonna be some contact. You be the tougher man, work through that contact, gets held, doesn't matter, keeps running, and keeps on his landmark. I love it. The separation. Again, ball's a little late, a little behind. Still, you can see the physicality, the route running. There's a lot to like about this kid. We got a bunch of clips on this kid. Oh, man, I love it.
He was still difficult to bring down.
Yeah. I mean, you can see he's not an easy guy to break down. Okay, so now he's up here at the top. I'll let this play. This is such a great play. Woo.
Go up and get it.
Yeah. That's what I love about this. He high points the ball.
Hey, yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. Okay, so now corner's got inside leverage. He's on the outside, so he's going to work in. He wants to create more space for his quarterback. He knows he's already one outside, so he's going to push, and then he's going to just fade a little bit in to push this corner inside and stack the corner. That means he's going to be where the corner has to go through him to go get the ball. That's what I love here. And so you see the burst that he has off the line. He takes it, works it in. Now he stacked the corner. Physical. Ball's a little underthrown, but guess what? I'm going to go high point, go get this ball, high point it, over the corner. No fear with the closing safety. He knows he might get lit up, and no fear. He's going to go get the ball. Look for the contact afterwards. Man, I love it. This kid, if I don't like necessarily talking bad about some young kids. If his quarterback, if he had maybe a little bit more juice from the quarterback position, this may have been a 1,400 yard receiver. I mean, he was doing a lot of stuff. All right, so we'll keep moving. Here he is up at the top. That you're going to see the physicality that he brings and all of this. Whoo! Oh, love it. Love this. All right. This is a throw his quarterback probably shouldn't be making. But he makes it anyways. Again, he's up at the top. They're just running with a lion double slant here against cover 2 zone with inside leverage from the corner. So he probably shouldn't be throwing this ball. And the reads on this guy who kind of sits. Don't love lion against cover 2 like this, but that's where his quarterback decides to go with the ball. But you're going to see, because the quarterback just predetermined that was what it was. He had to win against inside leverage. So again, you're going to see him come up in here, set this corner, and then go. So little slow play, because he's got to do that. It's not just a lazy route here. He's got to lose a step, because this guy's got to come and break early. He understands that, so that the quarterback can get a better defined read. If he just comes in here and goes, then what's going to happen is this defender is not going to give your quarterback a defined read. You have to have these staggered. Kurt Warner talks about this all the time. I think I've shared a few of those videos. You want to have it staggered so it gives the quarterback a defined read. So he's got to lose a step. So he's going to lose a step. He's waiting for it. Boom. Then bursts, works through the contact, goes and high points it in traffic over the middle of the field. Come on. Takes the hit. And then just goes. That's what I mean when it reminds you of Deebo Samuel, because that's the kind of stuff you'd see Deebo. Like, this reminds you of the Rams. You know, Jimmy G threw the ball up there. Wasn't a great throw necessarily. And Deebo went and high pointed it, fought through some collision, and then took it to the house. This is what that reminds you of, right?
Our lineman, McGinley, or what's his name?
Oh my goodness, Adam.
McGlinchey went to Ramsey. Remember that? That was after that play. McGlinchey ran up to, which you didn't ever see him do that. It was just funny, that Rams game.
I just think it's hilarious. Our lineman McGlooney,
Swanson, Slippy, Slappy,
Simmons, Swanson,
Samsonite. I was way off.
Yeah. So lot to like there. I got 3 more clips from Jack Beck. I just got to pull them up.
And 1 clip from Jeff Beck ripping on the guitar.
Get over the Jeff
Beck, Adam. Well, actually, I did, because I got the name wrong.
Yeah.
I just work here, okay?
Okay, whatever. All right. Monday. All right, here we go. We're coming in. We got 3 more clips here of Beck. He's here in the slot. This is a busting coverage if I've ever seen one. Or no, not this one. I forgot a note here. Again, you're going to see the fearlessness. So they're running a little bench concept. So he's going to be on an out route. We got a short out. This ball is a tad late by the quarterback, a little bit behind, but he knows he probably is going to get lit up here. They're running an inverted 2. So he's, the quarterback's trying to layer this ball in here. It's a little late getting there, and these guys are all going to close. And so he knows he might just get lit up on this, but there's no fear. Just focuses on catching it. This is what you see over and over again. Guys, the guy plays with no fear. And so that's what you really love about a receiver, especially in the way that we play. And that was one thing that Deebo Samuel did have, is that he would take, go for those catches over the middle with no fear. He just keep running because he knew if he caught it and it was at the right time and he hit the seam, he was gone. So that's what you tend to see with Jack Beck here. We're going to see this. This is a not great coverage by Baylor. And again, oh my gosh, physicality after the catch. So he's just running a post here. Now they're in a cover 4 tricks. So this safety is actually cross keying to the other side. There's a bust here. This corner is supposed to really pick him up in man. And this guy is supposed to catch this tight end who's going to roll out. So those guys have a bust here. But you see he tracks the ball well. And then when guy tries to tackle him, I love the stiff arm at the end. Just get off me. That you can always see, again, there's no fear running over the middle. You never see him hesitate. You never see him looking to go down. He catches the ball and he's always looking to do more. And never looking to just spare himself. It's just constantly physicality, looking to go to get more yards. I love it. So here's one. They're going to run a little trick play here out of a Wildcat. So this guy's going to run over and then he's going to, so Jack Beck, he's here. He's going to fake block and then he's going to release. This ball is criminally underthrown. You're going to see this. And this is a great adjustment to a really bad ball. Again, he knows he's going to get hit. He knows he like once this ball is underthrown, he knows he's going to get hit, but he also knows he's got a touchdown. So, I mean, this isn't like great route running here. He's great trick play. Okay, so you set him up, ball's criminally underthrown, but you know you're going to take that collision, catch the ball in traffic. You love it. Again, this is the thing that pops on the film over and over again. Is this kid is not afraid of contact, tough physical receiver. And then the last one here, right down here. This is, to put this in perspective, this was 30 seconds left in the game. TCU was down 7 points to Baylor. And this play will change the game. Great route running. Again, this plays a little bit closer than it should be. Quarterback, it's not real accurate, but understanding the defense here. So he sees they're presenting 2 high safeties. What they're going to do is they're going to run buzz. They're going to bring this safety down into an underneath coverage. They're going to bring this safety into a deep third. Okay, so this corner's got a deep third. So what he's going to do is as he releases, he's going to run what's called a widened Skinner. So he's going to then shave this release outside. Why? He's going to push this corner wide and create more space for his quarterback down the middle. So really good, really nice route running here. You can see him as he sees this safety come down, the angle changes and he's going to widen because he knows he's got to widen this corner. So he widens and you can see it. Corner is drifting out towards the numbers. He's going to widen and then come in so that, because again, if he comes inside, this safety can get him. This corner is going to stay right on top down the middle and then go get this ball. He is really wide open, but this is set up by some really nice route running to do that. This isn't just by happenstance. So we're going to run it back and you'll see it one more time. We'll run this at full speed so you can see it. Widen that out. Oh, man. Give your quarterback a really big space to throw it in for what is a touchdown that you needed in the critical moments of the game. Again, 30 seconds left in this game. There it is. They were down by a touchdown. Boom. There you go. So there's some Jack Beck.
It's tough. Looks like a very, very tough kid.
I mean, hey, Houston Stressens is in the chat. Big shout out to Houston. He's got a huge channel doing the Houston Texans. A good friend of mine, Cody, turned me on to him. Good to see you in there. I get the same sort of thing. Puka Nakua, kind of Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel. Like, I really get that kind of vibe from him. He doesn't have the top end speed I think that Debo has, because Debo was a home run hitter. You know, he when he got the ball in his hands, it was like a sixth, seventh gear kicked in, and he would take off. But he reminds me of that physical, over the middle, savvy route runner, but brings more physicality than a Cooper Kupp. Brings that, you know, willingness to take on, to make contact, to force the issue with contact. That's what he reminds me of. And much like both of those, all three of those receivers, they were second or later rounds. They were not first round picks. And so Jack Beck is not considered to be a first round pick right now. I think a lot of people have him somewhere in that 45 to 75 range. I think that's where most people are kind of slotting. Yeah, slotting Beck for, you know, maybe second round, could be early third. So that's where he's kind of landing in here. And somebody that I think the 49ers, if they go defense early and they're looking to add another offensive weapon, that this is somebody who I think makes a ton of sense for the 49ers system. And they've been trying to get younger, and they traded away Debo Samuel. We're not sure, is Juwan Jennings going to get a long-term contract? He's under contract this next year, but after that, we don't know. And so, you know, if the 49ers look at drafting a year out at receiver, that makes sense.
Yeah. Good looking kid for sure. As Hugh Wilkins mentioned, 2.5 weeks to the draft. Can't wait. Getting excited. Going through all these videos.
Yeah, it's been, man, it's coming at us quick. There's so many, and what I love about this class, man, there's so many good prospects. You know, there's some years you have some guys that you think, okay, you know, this could be a third round pick that could pop, but this class, like we've said so many times, picks like 20 to 100, there's not a lot of separation. So when we say Jack Beck, maybe in that 45 to 75 range, that's not as wide as it sounds. I mean, it really comes down to, how does this guy fit in your system? I think a lot of teams would see him, you know, maybe 3-4 years ago as a top 10 wide receiver out of that class, you know, or top 5 wide receiver out of that class. But you know, he could go as far down as the third round. And that wouldn't be a slight against him. So just a player that when you watch him on film, you really, really fall in love with him, because and it's not the, you know, huge separation and just go, wow, you know, this kid is so much, you know, physically got the speed to be that deep threat down the sideline. That's not it. It's he would be a very productive receiver almost anywhere you put him. He will get open. He can do things with the ball in his hands. To me, it's more of a less risk of miss prospect, because so much of it is already there. So, and that's what I really like about him.
So, quick question. I know you want to get to Shamar here as well. Quick question regarding the receiver position. Can you go over real quick and how Jack Beck flows into this regarding the X position, the Y, the Z? I understand enough to get arrested in Mexico. That's how much I know. But can you talk through that a little bit?
Well, so, you know, your X receivers, usually your one, a lot of times we call it the split end. It's somebody that's on the opposite side from the tight end. Split end being split out, tight end being in tight. But the ends on the line, the receivers that are on the line. And so generally now,
example of a player that we all know.
So an example, Jerry Rice, after his first few years, the first number of years there, John Taylor was the X, he was the Z, and actually Bill Walsh, after Jerry was there for a couple years, named him the F receiver, that he didn't have X or Z on there. A lot of times he had F receiver. That was specifically where Jerry was playing, because he had some very colorful language about the kind of player he thought that Jerry Rice was and what kind of a problem he was for other teams. As told to me by somebody who watched the install tapes of Bill Walsh. I wish I could have been there, man. He watched him with John Gruden, and he told me that Bill Walsh called Jerry the F receiver. But anyways, Jerry Rice, for the years that we commonly think about him, was the X receiver. Terrell Owens, when he started with the 49ers, was the Z, and then after Jerry left, became the X. Randy Moss was the X. Chris Carter was the Z. If you think of the Arizona Cardinals, Fitz and Bolden, Fitz was the X. Bolden was the Z. So a lot of times we called these over time. You had the route running or the number one receiver, and then you had the possession receiver. That's a lot of times how people would frame it many years ago as the difference. Because here's where where the rubber meets the road on that difference. The X receiver has to face bump coverage on the line much more frequently than the Z, because the Z is going to be off the line. So he's going to have a little bit of cushion there. It's harder to press the Z. The X is going to be isolated a lot of times. What you'll have is, and a good example is Brandon Ayuk has been our X receiver. We would do 4x1. So we would have a spot concept. Anybody who's watched my produced videos understands this. You'd have a spot concept on one side, and then you'd have a backside man beater. So it would be a slant, it would be an out route. Sometimes it was a stop route. We've had a number of different routes on that other side. So you have a concept side, one that's meant to beat zone, and then you have your man beater over here on the other side. And so the quarterback, he's got a 1, 1, 2, 3. And sometimes this one was treated as an alert. If they're going to roll heavy zone coverage this way, which a lot of coverages do nowadays, they'll do zone on one side, man on the other. If they're not going to give any help over there, then you have a receiver who can beat one-on-one man coverage. That's your X receiver. So he's not involved in a concept over there. He's just, I can win against my guy. And then over here, if they don't roll coverage completely over there, we can win by numbers with a 3 versus 2 in coverage, or a 4 versus 3, that we have enough people in space to beat that. So when we talk about like a possession receiver or somebody like a Jack Beck, I think that's more going to be your slot or your Z receiver. He's not a traditional X. He's not going to be somebody that you isolate backside, that you have that probably will have to, because the value of an X is if that guy can win constantly versus man coverage, then the defense has to change. They have to put a safety over there, which means they're going to either have to not keep a safety over your concept side, which can be really risky, or they have to go too deep. And so they have to put an extra safety over there and keep a safety so that they have numbers over your concept side. Now you can run the ball. Okay. If they're just playing zone and they want to keep a corner over him and they're rolling another zone player underneath, now you can go 4x1 and you can put 4 over against 3 against the defense, or 3 over 2, because they have to keep an extra guy over there. So that's your value. Now, with the way that a lot of modern offenses are, you do have a lot of these guys move around. You see Brandon Ayuk sometimes playing inside, sometimes you see him playing outside, but generally that's how it was, that Brandon Ayuk was our X, Deebo Samuel was our Z. Juwan Jennings has been the slot. Now he's also played some X, he's played some Z, but Ricky Pearsall was brought in more to be a slot guy. And that's what we've seen. So that Z receiver, that sort of area, and you also see it in the different body types. And I think the best example of this over time was Fitzgerald and Bolden, because they're very different types of receivers. Their body types are very different. Their speed profiles were different. The way they were route running were very different. Anquan Bolden was the guy that would have a lot of catches in traffic, again, because you're running these concepts where it's in a void between zones. So you're going to catch that ball and you're probably going to, get hit very quickly afterwards. So you have a bigger body guy who can take contact, who isn't afraid to run through towards a zone player, catch a ball, and then do something. The X, you aren't asking to run over the middle a whole lot. Like Larry Fitzgerald talked about that at the end of his career, that he was asked to do that, and he was like, I mean, this is something that I've never done before. That was always Anquan's job, was to run over the middle. I didn't run over the middle. And so like that's a big difference as far as body type. So when I see Jack Beck, I see, that's a great, like, I think for a 49er system, Z receiver all the way.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff. And Houston dropping the knowledge as well from X. Love it. Okay. So what about Shamar Stewart?
All right. We'll get into Shemar Stewart. So this is, I think, him and Walter Nolan might be two of the most polarizing, I think, players in this draft. It seems like he's a top 15 pick, or he shouldn't even be picked in the first round. Let me clarify what because I've kind of taken that I'm really low on Walter Nolan and then get confused about how I feel about Shemar Stewart. I will say, it's not that I don't think that Walter Nolan is a top 30 pick in this draft. I don't see him as top 15. And specifically because of the position he plays and the issues he has. Shemar Stewart has some of the same issues, but he plays defensive end. And I think those things at defensive end don't worry me as much as a defensive tackle. So I'll clarify. Walter Nolan struggles with pad level. He struggles with identifying the run, and he struggles with taking on double teams. At defensive tackle, that is a problem. That's a problem that we had last year, and I don't see that fixing our issues. That's the issue I have there with Walter Nolan at 11. If we are picking him at 25 and we pick up an extra second or third round pick in this draft, because this draft class is so deep, I love him as a pick.
Right.
Because you're getting Nolan and another really good player from this class.
Value. Yeah.
The best way, I would say, after watching a lot of Shamar Stewart's film and watching him at the Senior Bowl and then figuring out what he did at the Combine, is when you watch his college tape and putting those other things in perspective, I see a kid that the light bulb hadn't gone off on what kind of player he is.
So Johnny, I got to ask you this before you get into it, because the chat was going on a little bit about it, and I am curious, honestly, what your take will be. So earlier, Dr. Steve made a tongue-in-cheek comment that when you had mentioned you've seen now 5 games or so of Shamar, he joked and said, "Oh, find a sack yet?" And then Chad Kirkman says, "You're gonna have to do some work to sell me on Shamar Stewart being a good pick, 4 sacks in 3 years." And the tape to me wasn't good. So I'm just curious.
Right. So when I see Shamar Stewart, I that's what I mean, is this is a kid who the light bulb hadn't gone off on who he was as a player. He was trying to be a really big defensive end at 290, and you can see the flashes of tools that can be there. And then once he left Texas A&M, and this may have been that Texas A&M wanted him at that size because they wanted to be able to put him at 4I, at 5. They run a very multiple front here. So after that, he cut weight, showed up at the Senior Bowl, and dominated for 2 days. And when I say dominated, I mean like some potential first round offensive linemen look like ragdolls against him. That the explosiveness was off the charts. The power was off the charts. Then he goes to the Combine, and he weighs into the Combine, and we find out he's dropped like 17 pounds from when he played at Texas A&M. And the athletic measurables are just off the charts. That really, again, all this comes around to tell me this kid he was trying to play in his at 290 as he would be at 270, 275. 275, he looks very different. And we're going to see that. Okay. And so I'll get into that. Here he is. This is against Notre Dame, so he's playing against their left tackle. Let me pop up my notes here because I have a bunch of clips that I need to make sure
Which
that
is going to be one of the best left tackles in college football. If you're playing left tackle at Notre Dame, It's not.
I mean,
Corpus
yeah,
Christi
they were going against the, Ohio State for the national championship. So we're going to see, this is what I mean by the physical tools to be a top end, and understand this is at 290. So we have to remember that at 290 pounds, he's going to pull this. And so when people say, where are the sacks? Well, a lot of them, they had a lot of coverage issues there at Texas A&M. I will just say that. And because they had a very good defensive line and a lot of coverage issues, the ball was out of the quarterback's hand quick on so many of these plays. But you're going to see him come in here. He's playing from this wide 9. He's going to get in here, and you're going to see this dip and bend at 290. Understand the size that he can do this with. So when you say this kid has dropped 17 pounds, look at the bend around the corner. When we talked about this with Mike Green, we talked about this with Femi Oladejo, that these are the kinds of traits that you don't see a lot. And so when you see it, it makes you get your attention that you have that kind of bend around the corner. That is what separates him at 290. So again, he's dropped 15 pounds and he looks so much more explosive. That's not a normal trait for a human being to be able to bend like that. Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to see him. He's off right tackle. Now you're going to see that the ability that when he's going to come up and he's going to go for just a power rush here. So we'll play it in full speed. Then we'll go back and show it down. Oh, I mean, the power that he's got this is what I mean. And I'll get into it a little bit more when we get to some of his other film, especially against LSU. It's like he didn't understand how much power he has. So you're going to see this power rush. I like the hands. He's going to get in here. Boom. Long arms. So he's got his hands underneath the tackle. Tackle has him up on the shoulders. That's a win for him. And he's going to just bench press the guy off of him, fly him back, and go after the quarterback. So there's a pressure here.
Yeah, he flushes him completely. It was all him that did that.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. Man. And so now they have him in here as a 4-eye, and he's going to come up. This tackle's going to try and block down on him. He's going to give a nasty double swipe and come around the corner. So let's watch this in full speed. And you can see quarterback's telling the running back, watch out for him. Whoo. Okay. So get in here, whack, get the tackle's arms off him, and then the burst at 290 to come around and turn the corner. Flushes the quarterback. There's another pressure. Man. And now you're going to see him against the run. Okay. So he's going to be right here. He's off left tackle. Not a great block by the left tackle, but this is a big man with a lot of power. They're going to try and run at him. He sees it. No hesitation. Go follow that tight end. They're trying to get him to come out on this, but he's got eyes to the tight end. He's going to go get this. So there it is. Go get him and swallow up the running back. When he's got his arms on you, it's game over. So, that's some against Notre Dame. I'm going to pull up some other clips here.
While you do that, it's game over. Also, as she can break and fall. Lisa, I can bend too, she says. Break and fall also. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
That's the best $2 she's ever spent in her life.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll get back into this Shemar Stewart, and then I'll talk about, a lot of people are mentioning James Pierce. I've watched James Pierce. I have some thoughts there. But here he is. He's over the left tackle. We're going to watch it in full speed, and then you'll see it. We'll run it in half speed. I don't know why it's running in half speed. It's not playing well with me. All right. Well, that works. But we're going to see him here against the run. No complaints, I guess. Sometimes you just got to switch it back and forth a few times. They're trying to run at him. Boom. Long arms. Gets into the tackle. Good pad level. I like the pad level. He's going to anchor. And he's going to peek. Look at that arm. Arm length. This is what we talk about. That you can't teach arm length. He's going to keep the tackle off of him while he peeks to the running back. Once the running back commits, he's going to disengage and go get this. Boom, there it is. Not a lot of guys out of this class and just period playing defensive end have this kind of length that can just long arm, hole, anchor the end, and then go make the stop. So, again, there's tools here that you can't teach. So now here we're going to see him. He's playing off left tackle. We're going to get a pass rush here. Whew. There's a lot of near misses on these. That's one. It's not credited as a sack, but that's as good as a sack. Yeah. So this is what I mean. When he uses his power, he didn't do it nearly enough. He's as nasty as it gets. And this is what was so exciting about him at the Senior Bowl is that he did this. He did this in one-on-ones versus so many tackles would come in and just bull rush. And his bull rush is as good as anybody, any defensive lineman in this class. This is as nasty a bull rush as it gets. Speed rush to power. Look at the engagement. Watch the press. He's going to blow this left tackle up into the running back. Okay. And this is against Florida, so everybody understands who he's playing against.
It's like a 18-yard loss.
That is a nasty bull rush.
That's crazy.
He did not use this enough. I think that's one of the big things that, again, when I say the light bulb hasn't gone off, is that it's somebody who did not understand the sheer power that they had to understand that. He was trying to play like so many times like a 250-pound edge player. And that's what the film says to me, is it is somebody who did not understand his sheer just raw power. So here he is again, going against the left tackle. We're going to see another rush here, coming in for a wide 9. When he's at wide 9, he looks a lot better. Okay. What do I like here? Watch the amount of ground he covers from here to here. Length, legs. He has a problem with some false steps here. But you can see the tackle has already lost. He's not expecting this kind of speed from a 290-pound guy. Okay, again, what he tested at the combine, losing 15 pounds, he was actually out about here by this point. So his burst is even better than this now that he's dropped some weight, cut down, playing at a much better weight. But the burst, that first step and to cover ground, he's won. Okay? That's what you want from a defensive end. This is a 3-man rush. The reason why this isn't a sack is because you have all this space for the quarterback to step up into because they ran a 3-man rush. And so it's just there. And like I said, they had some coverage issues on the back end. So he's got all the tools that you cannot teach. He's got so many of the tools that are there in spades, in absolute spades. Now, what are some of the negatives here? So we're going to see him. This was not a great game. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a great game here against LSU. Now, this is Will Campbell, who is one of the top tackle prospects in the nation. Somebody that, again, if the 49ers drafted him, I would not be upset about that. The biggest knock on Will Campbell has been his arm length. But as far as technique and strength and power, I think he's one of the top 3 tackles in this class. So we're going to see him here, and you just see it. It's kind of just, it's not terrible, but you don't really see, you're not going, okay, I wouldn't love for this every time from my a top edge rusher. So again, going against Will Campbell, see it here. It's not a great rush here. We'll slow it down. So he's coming from a little bit tighter of an alignment. What you tend to see is this step comes in, and then his second step is really inside, and then he tries to burst around the edge. I saw this a lot in this game, and it was like, again, the bulb hasn't quite gone off of what am I in this and how do I beat this guy. If he had just bull rushed him every time, I think he would have had a lot of pressures in this game. But I mean, it's a decent swipe. He's going to try and bend around. Will Campbell, though, loses balance a little bit. It's okay. He did win around the end, but it's not a great rush. You would like it to be a little bit more straight line to the quarterback and win through. Okay, so here he is again against Will Campbell, left side. So he's going to try and run a little rip move here, and it's just he loses his rep. It's like he's not fully committed onto it. Like he didn't understand what he was trying to do. So there's a little false step. This is what I mean. That second step is real inside, and then he's going to try and get around the corner, and it's like he's reactionary on this rip. It's like, okay, now I'm going to get there and rip through, and he needs to dig in and go, and he just kind of there's not much there. It's okay. Not something you would expect from a first round pick at all. So here he is playing on the left side again. We're going to see him here, though. Gets the run stop. Okay, he's coming down. He's coming after his tackle. He reads the run, and he's going to beat this tight end to the spot. Again, at 290, he's got the quickness and the burst. And this is even better now. So he runs it down, goes and gets a running back. All right. Because some people said, a lot of issues are in against the run. I didn't see a ton of that. Maybe in just the games I saw, but I didn't see a ton of that. So here it is again, going against Will Campbell. This is where, again, if he just bull rushes the whole time, he probably does real well. This is a half committed bull rush, and he still moves Will Campbell back almost in the quarterback's lap. So he's going to come in, and it's like he transitions to bull rush after he realizes he can't win off the burst. So he's trying to win off the edge. He says, okay, he's kick stepped out. I can't do that. So now he's going to try and switch to power. So it's a half committed bull rush. And so he still gets it into the quarterback's lap. I mean, when the quarterback's throwing from that spot, you've got your pressure. You've done your job as a defensive end. That you've collapsed that pocket. He's closer to the quarterback than anybody else on his defensive line. But it's a half committed bull rush. If he's got a plan in here, he says, okay, this guy's been beating my speed rushes. I'm just going to bull rush this guy who's got shorter arms than me. I think he's driving Will Campbell back into the quarterback every play. I mean, the power's there. He's moving his man. So again, I think this is somebody who the light bulb hadn't really gone off about what kind of player he is. Okay, so now we're going to see him again off the left side against Will Campbell and another bull rush. So now he's got the power. Now you see him moving somebody. Okay, there's zero pocket coordination. That was another thing I saw, is this defensive line was so talented. They were trying to do a whole lot. It was like they weren't all on the same page a lot of times. But here comes that power. Boom. There's that bench press underneath the leverage, and he's going to move his man. Again, one of the top tackles in the league. He's moving him in there. He's winning on this. He's getting help from a second guy, but the quarterback's kind of jump up and throw this ball. So when he understands the kind of power that he has, that it's rare, that he looks really good to me. It's when he's, I don't know. So why I see him as a top guy is there because the tools that he has are things that can make you a complete game changer. You put that next to a Nick Bosa. Remember what D Ford, when he would switch from power speed rush to power rush, and they would just completely accordion the ends against quarterbacks. It was absolutely devastating. I mean, devastating. And you see the potential is there for that. That if you put that together, again, this is more of a raw pick, but I think you can deal with that more at defensive end than you can at defensive tackle. That's why I think he's there. I think he has all the physical tools of being a top end pick. So I would not be afraid of that, because I think you can have a little bit more of a prospect or project at D end than you can, and somebody that can really play true defensive end, not a Solomon Thomas who has been a defensive tackle, and now we're going to try and upgrade him at defensive end and just doesn't have the burst and doesn't have the tools. He's shown he has the tools to play defensive end. I think Solomon Thomas was really supposed to be a defensive tackle, an undersized defensive tackle his whole career. And that's why he started to stick around a little bit more after he made that transition more to an inside player. But I think I can deal with that there. I don't think you're going to have the huge gaping holes up the middle against the run like we had last year when you have a project in the middle. I would say, okay, you can get this. And again, the reason I'm looking at this whole draft as a collective, there's a bunch of run pluggers in this draft. So I'm saying, okay, you can solidify the interior. You can get a game-changing, somebody who has physical tools that are incredible at defensive end. And later in the rounds, plug up the middle, and you've really got something there as your defensive line. Now, the caveat being, do I have Shemar Stewart as the top defensive end in this class? No, I don't. For me, I've talked about him. It's Mike Green, but it's about the off fields with the Mike Green. I've watched James Pierce. I'm not sold on him. Like a lot of the things that people are concerned about with Shemar Stewart, I just don't think James Pierce, as far as what I've seen, has had the kind of blow you away physical, off the film wins that I've seen. Now, again, I've only watched 2 games of James Pierce, so I haven't seen everything that's there, but that's how I feel about it. Would I be upset if any of these guys were drafted? No, I think this is, like we've been saying for so much, this draft class is so deep and there's very little separation between a bunch of these guys. No matter where the 49ers go, I'm happy with it. If they pick Shemar Stewart, I'm happy. If they pick James Pierce, I'm happy. If they go get Walter Nolan, I'm happy. I have some concerns about them for that slot and the value that it's there. But, I mean, look, I think any of these guys are going to be very good defensive players going forward.
So let me ask you a couple things in the chat. Again, Chad Kirkman was saying that Membu completely nullified Stewart. Also, Pierce over Stewart. In the chat, a lot of Callie Young is saying that as well.
Pierce we've known Collie's feelings about Stewart for a while. That was going to be a hard win to get him to kind of get over onto the Stewart side. Look, he's not a no-brainer pick. That's the thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, you get Shemar Stewart, it's a no-brainer. Everybody should be in agreement. Like a Mason Graham, for example, or an Abdul Carter. Like, those are no-brainer picks. That's there. You run that pick, that card in immediately. It's not that. It's not a Mike Green, supposing there's no off-field issues there. There are questions that you have to ask. Why is there only 4 sacks in college? Again, for me, I'm looking at the tape. I'm seeing a lot of pressures. I'm seeing a lot of times that the secondary was not holding up against the pass. And the defensive line was very out of sync. Like, there was one of these plays, him and 11, they both were going on a stunt. It was clearly supposed to be Stewart. that the two guys crash down. Stewart loops around. Well, the other guy thought it was going to be the opposite way, that they were going to crash his direction. He was going to loop around. They both loop around and run into each other. Like that's the kind of disorganization I saw on the defensive line. It was like defensive line to linebackers to safeties, and everything was not cohesive because they had some really talented players and they just were not operating as a solid unit. That's why I see that. And I attribute some of that to that, some of it to the size, not able to close the deal on some of that stuff. But again, I have to look at it from, I'm trying to look at it from, here's the film. There are some questions on the film. Have any of those questions been answered through the Senior Bowl and through the Combine? And a couple of them, you can't discount the Senior Bowl and the Combine. I mean, his 2 days of practice at this Senior Bowl, I know it's only 2 days, but it's against the best offensive lineman in the league. Looked like a dude who was unblockable. Walter Nolan did not look as dominant at the Senior Bowl as Shemar Stewart did. Like that has to be factored in there. Mike Green and Shemar Stewart were the two defensive linemen by a mile of everybody, like that just flew off the field as far as just jumped out from everything they were doing in a good defensive line class. So that has to be considered in there. That is not just about the college tape. The college tape does tell you a lot, but that Senior Bowl also tells you a ton too. And then the Combine confirms which is it. The Combine is about trying to confirm, is it Senior Bowl or is it college tape, or is it both? Like that's just trying to tell you. And the Combine tells you this is one of the most explosive players to come out of the draft in a long time, athletes. So all of those things put together, for me, again, if it's a project, kind of a little bit more of a project, but has such huge upside, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and it's a bit of in the chat also said like that's more of a swing for the fences type of swing, and in this draft with other hits, maybe we just take some base hits. We don't know for sure. This is why we love to talk about it. Getting excited a couple weeks. We will try and go again on Friday. And do you have more video to go over?
Yeah. We're gonna get to some more prospects on Friday. Hope you guys enjoy the at least going through the film. This represents a lot of hours. It's an hour show, and there's a lot of talking in here. But just pulling these clips and going through all this film, is about 10 hours of work. That's why I'm not doing as produced videos either, because it would be another 40 hours of work to do both of these prospects as produced videos. But just trying to give a highlight to guys that I think fit the 49ers really well and fit what the 49ers could draft and everything. There's a lot of great prospects out there I'm not spending a lot of time on because either one, I don't think they're going to be a top 4 round pick in this draft. And I think the meat of this draft is you got to hit on those first 3 rounds. We've had some drafts where we've done really well in the 5th and 6th rounds, or even the 7th round, but missing in those early rounds is part of the reason why this draft is the way, or why the team is in the state that it is right now. You've got to hit on those first 3 rounds. There's too many good players that are going to be there to miss on some of those. And then if you can hit on the 5th round as well, great. That's got to be awesome. But in this class, you have got to hit on some of those rounds. So it's guys that I think really fit that. So I'm focusing a lot on defensive line, as you guys are seeing, focusing on a couple receivers that I think fit that a role that could be there at Z. And we're looking a lot at that stuff. Now, I would after watching the LSU tape against Texas A&M, I wouldn't be opposed to Will Campbell being a 49er. I think he's got a lot of great tools there. So
yeah, love to see it. Chad really crushing it in the chat. Great job out of you today. Chad Kirkman, man, good stuff. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that when we go, just not only on Friday, of course, but whenever we go, that you get the notification. Be sure to take your phone and show it to people wearing Niner gear and say, hey, I got this cool channel. Have you guys checked this out? And then also, you can go to Sports Idiot Nation as we did eclipse 20,000. We're well over 20,000 subscribers now.
Y'all are gonna leapfrog me in no time. Like this is
So
ridiculous.
new episodes are every Monday and Thursday. We just recorded for today. Talked about it was said in the chat earlier. R.I.P. Iceman. We talk about Val Kilmer movies. We talk about UConn women winning. Talk about Ovechkin, Steph Curry dropping 50 last week. Talk about a little bit of everything. And yes, Kylie says, good work, Johnny, as always. Yes, thank you for putting in all the hours. And we will see you Friday. So in the meantime, in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.